So the question occurs, what do you mean by what is screening? Why do we need to take screening? So the objective of this class is, what is screening? Why do we need to undertake screening? What are the patients that we are going to subject to screening for cervical cancer? And what are the methods by which we are going to screen for cancer cervix? Are you getting it? If you keep on responding, yes, yes, in those police and all, they do say, then it is easier for me to teach, because I know it is people are listening. In case you do it, it is good. Otherwise, I'll carry on assuming that you are understanding everything. So what do we understand by screening? Would anybody like to answer? Okay, in case you don't, I'll say. Screening is a test which is applied to general asymptomatic population to know if they're suffering from a disease which has a high incidence there. So screening for cervical cancer is, we want to prevent cervical cancer and we want to detect it earlier. What is the aim? India has almost 1/4 of all patients in the world of cervical cancer. And so we don't want so many patients of cervical cancer. So what can we do about it? One thing is educating the masses about the risk factors for cervical cancer, like early age for marriage, too many children, multiple sexual partners. So by this, we can decrease the incidence of cervical cancer. And secondly is by detection at an early stage, precancerous stage. If we can treat it there, then also we can decrease the incidence of cervical cancer. So India has we detect 96,000 patients almost every year. And to decrease the incidence of cervical cancer in India, we want to implement this screening. And in developed countries, there are not so many patients of cervical cancer. Why? Because they have implemented screening programs in a better manner. Then we have been able to do it. So now, what is our objective for screening? As I have already said, the objective for screening is to detect pre-invasive lesions so that we can treat them early, even when they are precancerous, when we can treat them completely, as compared to when cervical cancer is detected and complete cure may not be possible. Is it clear? Should I proceed ahead?
It's clear, ma'am.
Okay, fine. Okay, good. So now I told you, now we know the objective of screening. But then who are the population we should screen? You're sitting in the OPD, now you are thinking how we can actually take care of, which is the population which we can. So basically we will screen those women who are sexually active or they are 21 years of age, whichever occurs later. So they have to be sexually active. Suppose she is 21 and unmarried, you did not need to screen her. At the age of 25, she gets married. You can start her screening after 3 years of that, or at 25. So, generally, we are screening sexually active women. And if they are sexually active in many places, suppose she got married at the age of 18 years or she's sexually active, then you will start at the age of 21 years of age and women who are sexually active. And then the question comes, how often we should do it? So, it has been recommended that you can do cytology every 3 years and you can stop after the age of 65 years. Sometimes we can do it 5 years if we apply two methods together. We will be talking about methods, but two methods could be pap smear plus HPV DNA. So we started with the screening criteria. When should we start? Maybe at the age of 21 years when she's sexually active. And she's sexually active. When should we stop? After the age of 65 years. And screening is stopped if there has been no abnormal lesion in the last 20 years. Though all these guidelines are only followed in resource positive countries, that is developed countries, because even to carry out these tests we need resources, we need awareness, we need affordability. So this in India is still lacking because it is still a developing country. So what does the WHO says? That even if you do a one-time screening in any woman between the age of 30 to 49 years, at least that would also help us in detecting precancerous lesion. So in resource poor country, instead of the normal frequency every 3 years from the age of 30 to 65 years, they have said if you get an opportunity to do a pap smear for a patient or screening, you should do it. The implication is that you may be a CMO, a medical officer, or in in a PSC. And if you have facilities for screening a woman, you can advise her that, okay, you have come for pain in abdomen, but we should also take a pap smear for you. It helps to detect precancerous lesion. Even if she has no symptoms related to genital tract, you can advise her, counsel her, and if she agrees, you can obviously go ahead and do it. So now we have talked about what is the screening criteria, what is the objective of it, now how to do it. If I say you do screening for this patient, how will you proceed? So we need to know what are those tests by which we can know that a lady is suffering from any kind of precancerous lesions. So coming to the test, it is cytology, or commonly known name is pap smear testing. Then we can do human papilloma virus testing, as we know that there are certain oncogenic strains of human papilloma virus which are associated with cancer cervix. Then we can do inspection of the cervix, which can be done in a resource poor country, where we train the people, the nurses and all, to have a look at the cervix and be able to make out whether it is a normal cervix or abnormal. And if it is an abnormal cervix, they can refer it to a tertiary care center where patient can be treated. Then we have another method which is called as visual inspection of acetic acid. I will be telling you what is the basis of doing these tests and how to interpret the results, and visual inspection with Lugon iodine, and last visual inspection under magnification or colposcopy. So these are the different methods which can be applied. Generally, the most common method is cytology. And beyond that, we use different methods when there is a discrepancy. Maybe on examination, you are finding it looks normal, but cytology comes abnormal. Then what do? Then you apply one more test to know whether it is actually abnormal, and then you will proceed to treat. Because if it is, you don't want to treat, no test is 100% specific. So if it has been our experience, sometimes we see cervix is normal, but cytology is coming abnormal. So how do we advise the patient what treatment she should take? So just to know that whether the cytology, has there been an error in the interpretation or selection of the sample or any other things which may have led to an erroneous report, we will apply this woman to another test. So as we have said, cervical cytology is called as pap smear. Have you heard this name, pap smear? You've heard this name, pap smear?
Yes, ma'am.
And you come to the OPD, has anyone seen pap smear being taken? It makes it easier for me to make you understand. Has anyone seen or not seen? I'm just wanting to know.
Not seen, ma'am.
Not seen. So just in case all this pandemic goes down and you are coming to our OPD, you can let us know and we can show you. At least I can show you the things involved and other things. So I have a picture by which I hope so I will be able to make all this thing clear to you. But when you are seeing in person also how it is being taken, maybe it will get set in your mind so that it becomes easier for you to remember and produce at the time of exam. So pap smear is taken in two different methods. One is the conventional glass slide method, and another method of taking pap smear is liquid based cytology. So conventional pap smear test, why it is one of the most common tests, is a traditional test. It is easy to perform. It has reasonable levels of sensitivity and specificity. As you know, for the COVID also, we keep talking about whether RT-PCR test, it is sensitive, it is specific. Will it have false positive test? Will it have false negative test? If it is false negative, patient is COVID and still the test is negative, that is also a problem. Patient is not COVID and test is positive, that is false positive, that is also a problem. So every test has its own sensitivity and specificity. For pap smear, it is reasonably okay. And it can detect endocervical lesions also. The only precautions to be taken is that patient should not have had any sexual intercourse and any vaginal medication. Suppose she has received a pessary and she has used it in the night prior, then you will not take a pap smear, and it is generally not done during menses because she's bleeding, so all those cells will be desquamated. So you will do it following pap smear. That would be the best time to call a patient for a pap smear. So this, can you see this picture of a ice cream like spatula? Can you, on which it can be, can you see this wooden spatula? You can see this picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So it has two different kinds of, so one is slightly bent and other is a broad end. With the broad end, we take hold of it. And this contoured end, the contoured end is the one that we introduce into the os. So taking a sample and we will introduce into the os, rotate it by 360 degree. and then we will smear it on a slide. I'm trying to explain to it, but as I said, if you people come back, you can obviously and remind us that, madam, we want to see a pap smear, we want to see a spatula. So, because then we are always proceeding with a next case, do a case presentation. But if you remind, we can show you all the things we have, this spatula for pap smear and other things, which so that it becomes easier for you to remember. So it will be smeared on a slide, and this slide will be now put into a container which is containing ethyl alcohol, and this is the work of a clinician. Now we have put it into ethyl alcohol. Now we will send it to a pathologist. And what will be the pathologist do? Pathologist will examine the slide under a microscope to see whether it has any, whether it is normal, whether it has any precancerous changes or it has any cancerous changes. Okay, because by studying the cell structure, we can make out whether the cell is normal or it has some nuclear cytoplasmic ratio which is suspicious enough to classify it as precancerous and cancerous. You all learned that in pathology, na? You learned in pathology what is a normal cell look like, what does a cancerous cell look like. Yes, in pathology, not that there is a difference between a normal cell and a cancer cell anywhere in the body which a pathologist examines under the microscope. You know that. Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
So what we are trying to say is that only cells will come. It is cytology. Tissue is different. Tissue is a group of cells. In pap smear, we will study the cytology, the cell structure, to understand whether it is normal or it may be precancerous or it may be cancerous. Now you can see this diagram. So you can see we will make the woman lie down in a lithotomy position, right? Then we will introduce the Cusco speculum to look at the cervix as it is been shown in the picture. And through the Cuscos, we will either introduce the spatula if we are doing it by the conventional method, or we will introduce a brush which is used in liquid-based cytology. Now you will say why to do conventional method and why to do liquid-based cytology. Liquid-based cytology is a newer method to do it because they found that doing it by the conventional method, sometimes sample collection was inadequate or there were artifacts. So probably what decides is the economic criteria. Liquid-based cytology, even getting the stuff will cost a patient 300 rupees per person. So depending upon the resources with that institution or maybe in a lab, the liquid-based cytology, the newer method is supposed to have more accurate results. So if possible, we will adopt the newer method. But suppose there is a PHC, they don't have so much funds to arrange for a cytobrush, and they can only arrange for a cytology and do those slides and spatula, then we can take the conventional pap smears. So as you see, you can see the picture. Is this picture clear? You can see the picture on your screen.
Yes, ma'am.
Woman is lying in a lithotomy position. You can see that.
Yes, ma'am.
Next
Yes,
diagram shows that there is a Cusco speculum. You can see that.
Yes, ma'am.
Self-retaining. And with the hand, the examiner is introducing a cytobrush. You can see that.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
And this cytobrush will be rotated by 360 degrees so that we can collect any exfoliated cells. So this is a method of collection which a clinician will undertake. So cells are collected using a cervical broom. Then this head of the broom, it is detachable. If you will come to the OPD and you have interest, we can show you also how the head of the broom can be detached from rest of the handle of, and we can put it into a small pot of liquid which is containing a preservative. Now we as a clinician, we will take the sample and then send it to a pathologist. Now what will the pathologist do? They will filter and centrifuge to remove the mucus, blood and inflammatory cells. Though it is said it can be done during menses, but we avoid doing any method of pap smear during the menses unless very important. Otherwise, we prefer to call the patient post-menstrually so that we can see the cells very well. Now you have sent it to the pathologist. She will study the cell and she will send you back a report. Patient will come back to you with the report so that you have to give the treatment based on that report. So you should be knowing how to interpret that report. So there are different systems being followed. The traditional system of doing a pap smear, we have told you, and this was the system of analyzing the report. Means pathologist has studied the sample. Sometimes they will say it is an inadequate sample, cells are not so much, so maybe you will have to repeat it. then it can come, they can give as first type 1 is a normal result, that everything is normal in that pap smear based on the study of the cell. Second, they can say there is inflammation, benign, reactive changes. So when they write inflammation, what do? We understand there is some infection, we give her some antibiotics to treat that infection. Now, third, they have said, third A, there is some atypical cells of undetermined significance, and the cell structure may be similar to a squamous cell or a glandular cell. And 3B, maybe it is some, again, dyskaryosis of light degree. You know what dyskaryosis is? Abnormal cells only, or of a medium degree. So type 3 is a suspicious cell. Okay. So it is a highly suspicious cell. So when a clinician will get this result, then it means we cannot ignore. It is not infection antibiotics. So we have to see if it is cancer or precancerous, then we have to accordingly subject her to further test and accordingly the result, because they are suspicious. They cannot say whether it is cancer or it is not cancer. Stage 4 is precancerous, dyskaryosis of a severe degree, and 5 is malignant. So when you study the cell structure, there are certain cells, you know this is cancer, you know this is normal. But sometimes in pathology, the cells are of such a kind that even the pathologist is not very sure. It doesn't seem cancer, it doesn't seem normal. So somewhere in the middle, they find that there is an abnormality of undetermined significance. So they can give you these results. As a clinician, when the patient is coming to you with this pap smear report, she will ask you, now, doctor, what to do? So that is why you should be aware that reporting will come to you in what format, and accordingly, how will you further investigate the patients, or you will further treat her. Now, this is the Bethesda system. Have you read anything about the Bethesda system in pathology? Have you heard the term Bethesda system? And if you have not heard it, say no. If you have heard it, it is okay. At least you are familiar with it. I will go on to explain it. Are you familiar with the term Bethesda system?
No, ma'am.
Okay, fine. So this is the recent method of evaluating these smears. Okay, there was this Bethesda, there was some conference there, and they decided that we will not classify as per the pap smear terminology, normal result, inflammation, 2, 3. They will, so what do they do? If there is an inadequate sample, they will write inadequate. That means we have to repeat the sample because they don't have. Then they are just writing negative for intraepithelial lesion malignancy, NILM. If you come to our OPD again and there are pap smear report, I can show you, because the pathologist will send you a report saying NILM, negative for intraepithelial lesion. So how will you interpret it and inform the patient what to do? So at least you can tell the patient there is no malignancy, nothing to worry. And if there is any inflammation, they will write there is inflammation, reparative changes, means it is infection, you will give her antibiotics. Okay. Now again, they have written atypical cells of undetermined significance. Again, they don't know. Then atypical cells -H. H means they are high risk. So that is dysplasia. So ask us in favor of reactive changes. Sometimes small, mild reactive changes are because of infection. So you can again give antibiotics and follow up the patient with pap smear. Now, if it says ascus H, it is not cancer, but it is not normal also. That means the patient will tell her we'll have to do more tests for you, like HPV, DNA, PCR, or maybe a colposcopy to see it is no cancerous changes. And sometimes those cells are atypical glandular cells. So again, that becomes they are the precancerous lesions. Then you see those terms written L and SIL SIL, which is equivalent to CIN1. So L SIL stands for low grade squamous intraepithelial lesion. So in my next class, where we will be teaching and talking about cervical intraepithelial lesion, we will tell you more, but LCL is mainly infective in nature. So you can treat the patient with certain antibiotics or certain gut, this vaginal bacterial kind of medications, and again repeat a pap smear after 3 months to see whether those changes have reversed, that LCL has become normal. But suppose the report come as high grade squamous intraepithelial lesion, which is equivalent to CIN2, or again HCL or AIS, adenocarcinoma in situ. Now these are things which need further investigation and treatment. Because if the HCL comes where a lady is 30-year-old, she has one child, she wants more child. So considering that, we don't want to overtreat because HCL means she is at risk of cancer, how much cancer it is, what is her age, whether she has completed a family. Based on all this, we have to treat HSIL, because it will not only be a medical treatment, it will be some kind of a surgical treatment where we either remove only the disease part, or in certain cases like adenocarcinoma in situ, we may have to go for hysterectomy. So these decisions have to be very sure based on biopsy. We can't say biopsy report was wrong, pap smear report. We have to be very sure. That is why we do certain subsequent testing to ensure that if it is a precancerous lesion like HSIL or AIS, then it is adequately investigated and then treated. And lastly, it is invasive carcinoma. It means that the lady it is suggestive of cancer. Okay. Have you understood? Is it clear? Is it clear that see, I told you one of the screening techniques traditionally is pap smear. I tried to explain to you that this is how we will take a pap smear. The method of taking the sample, either it is by a spatula, which is the conventional test, or it is by taking a cytobrush, which is the liquid-based cytology. After collecting the sample, we send it to the pathologist. Now the pathologist has given the report, and patient comes to you with the report. Suppose patient comes to me with a report saying NILM, she'll say, doctor, now what will happen? I'll say everything is fine, need not worry, there is no cancer. Suppose she comes with a report saying, doctor, it is saying inflammation, what is it, what will happen? Again, I'll tell her there is some infection, I will write some antibiotics to you, nothing to worry. You take these antibiotics, and in case she had any symptoms, suppose vaginal discharge or other thing, we will see whether your symptoms are resolved. Now, if she comes to me with a report saying, doctor, it is ascus, what it is? I will tell her you need further tests to see that there is no cancer. I will not tell her, okay, you go away, you take antibiotics. Then I will tell her you have to go for certain other tests like HPV, DNA, PCR, like colposcopy. If we find something abnormal in colposcopy, we will take a biopsy. We have to be very sure there is no cancer. She comes to me by the report of HSIL, then I'll tell her, no, it is very serious. We have to investigate. You have got some relative, we'll do colposcopy today only. We will take a biopsy. If it is HSIL, we may have to consider to remove your uterus. So this is how we counsel the patient regarding further management depending on the report. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. Anything you want to ask? Anything you want to ask? Because even if you sit as a medical officer, it is NILM. Probably, suppose you are in any hospital, patient has come to you with a report. She asks you, madam, is it okay? At least you will be able to say NILM, yes, it is okay, nothing to worry. If she says, madam, it is ascus, you can say, okay, you go to a gynecologist, they will tell you further. So at least at your level also, you should be able to see what is normal, what is abnormal, and what needs further consultation, right? So if it's ascus, LCIL, you can accordingly advise her, because these reports will come back to you and you need to know what is the interpretation. Now coming to the next test, which is human papilloma virus testing. As you must have read in microbiology also, there are certain tests, these viral infections which are associated with cancer. And HPV is of 140 types. But there are certain strains of HPV which are associated with cancer of cervix, which are 16 and 18. Generally, they are there. So we are trying to do human papilloma virus or otherwise of 140 types, and they're transitory. They will come, and probably after 1 year, if you repeat it, they will go. But what we are concerned about is for high risk HPV. If it is the strain of 16 and 18, which may be associated with cancer cervix, this is what we are looking for. Co-testing, we do a combination of high risk HPV and cytology. So if a patient comes to me in OPD and tell me I want to test for cancer cervix, I am okay. So doctor, which test do you recommend? I will say pap smear. So when do we recommend human papilloma virus testing in which patients? If the pap smear comes out as ascus, then I don't know whether it is important or not. Ascus could be simple infection. I don't want to overtreat this patient, but I don't want to ignore. So I'll tell her you go for HPV testing. And if it is 16 to 18, maybe I will tell her we'll go for a local excision. There are LEAP procedures which can be done, so we can study those. So role of a human papilloma virus is along with testing of cytology, if the cytology is suspicious or slightly abnormal. Is it clear? And how do we do the HPV testing? The sample collection is done in the same way as we do for the liquid-based cytology. It is a cytobrush, and from that cytobrush will be sent to the laboratory which is looking for this human papilloma virus oncogenic strain, and then they will apply the required tests to know what is the strain. So method of collection of sample for human papilloma virus testing is the same as liquid based cytology. So now we come to something called as visual inspection of acetic acid. Now, how will we, this is based on the fact that we will make the patient lie down in lithotomy position. Then we will introduce a cusco speculum, and we will apply, we will smear with a, we will smear the cervix. We can use anything, a cotton swab or something, to smear the cervix with freshly prepared 3 to 5% acetic acid. 3 to 5% freshly prepared means you have glacial or concentrated acetic acid. If you want to prepare 3% acetic acid, you will take 100 ml of normal saline and put 3 ml of glacial acetic acid, so it is 3. So anywhere between 3 to 5% acetic acid. It is very important. It is acid. Please don't put concentrated acid. One has to be very clear, and it should be freshly prepared. Otherwise, it will lose its potency. So we will make the patient lie down similarly in lithotomy position, put a cusco speculum, and with a cotton swab we will put this 3 to 5% acetic acid on it, and then we will look at the cervix after 1 minute. So basically the pathophysiology is that those areas which are cancerous or precancerous, they have a higher nuclear density and they will be having more protein material. So that acetic acid will bind to areas which have more proteinaceous material or more nuclear density, and they will appear as acetovite areas. So in this requirement, you don't need any such, you just need a cotton swab and you just need a acetic acid. You don't need a spatula, you don't need a cytobrush, you don't need a pathologist. So visual inspection of acetic acid is a cheaper method, except that we have to train the nurse or the ASHA or other para-nursing staff to be able to do the test and interpret it, and it is useful at PHC. So how do we interpret it? I will just tell you that why in a resource poor country this is also being taken as a method for screening of cancer cervix, because it is simple, easy to learn, minimally dependent upon infrastructure. You don't need, you just need a cotton swab and you need acetic acid and normal saline. Getting a cytobrush, and each set of cytobrush costs rupees 300, and after you have put it in a container, then you need a pathologist to interpret it. So this is less dependent on infrastructure, as we can train the health professional to understand what is a normal inspection, what will a normal cells look like, and what any abnormal cells will look like. It is low cost, requires only acetic acid, a speculum, and light source. Can be performed by nurses and midwives. Results are available immediately, allowing use of screen and treat protocols. It requires only one visit. Accuracy is comparable to pap smear. And in case, sometimes interpretation of that white area is difficult. So we can again do a Willy to counter check our findings. So visual inspection of acetic acid, when it is considered negative, when there is no acetovide lesion, and you may only find some cervicitis, and it is considered positive when there is sharp, distinct, well-defined, dense acetovite areas which are near the internal os, which is the squamocolumnar junction. And anyway, if you have something like a cauliflower growth or ulcer, maybe then there is no need to do a VIA. You can directly take a biopsy if you have a suspicious area already, like an ulcer or a growth. Then the nurse can be trained to send the patient directly to a tertiary care center. Now, these are certain pictures. Those white areas, when you actually do it, it becomes very difficult to interpret. You've done doing it very easy, but what actually is significant? So there are certain pictures to show that if there is a white area away from the os, that is away from the transformation zone, or there is just a faintly white area, then it is probably not visual inspection with acetic acid. And the last picture, the below picture, is showing that as you see the lower down picture, that there is a dense white area near the internal os or near the transformation zone. Now that becomes suspicious. So a nurse should send it to a tertiary care center. Suppose it is a tertiary care center where you're utilizing this method, then one should take a biopsy from this method for further evaluation. Can you see this picture?
Yes, ma'am.
Is it clear how we collect it and how we interpret it? Or
Yes, ma'am.
if there is any doubt, I am willing to explain again. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Then I will go to the next method. So this I'll talk when I talk with colposcopy, visual inspection of acetic acid under magnification. Now this is another method of doing is visual inspection with Leucos iodine. As the name itself is clear, visual inspection you will see with naked eyes after applying Leucos iodine. So name itself is, you don't have to actually mug it up. VILI, visual inspection with Leucos iodine. So in this case, like earlier we were painting the cervix, patient will lie down in lithotomy position. You will introduce a Cusco speculum and you will apply Lugol's iodine on the cervix and then you will observe. It is called as Schiller's test. The unstained areas are the unhealthy area. Why? Because the healthy tissue will contain glycogen and iodine will combine with that glycogen to take up the brown color. So the difference between via and villi is to white areas which becomes white are unhealthy areas. And here the unstained areas are the healthy areas. That is, if the brown areas are the healthy areas. There, astro white is a suspicious area. Here, if it is not brown, it is a suspicious area. You can see this picture where you have seen that brownish color is taken up by a whole of the cervix except the area which is near the internal os. So that is a unhealthy area. Is it clear or should I repeat again? The take home message is that you will apply Lugol's iodine. What is healthy area? Which becomes brown. Is it clear? When you see the
Yes, ma'am.
the area which is brown is healthy. Just two things. Area which is brown is healthy. Okay.
Okay, ma'am. Yes.
And which is not stained is unhealthy. Maybe you have to remember this. We told you the reason also, that because healthy portion takes mahogany brown color due to presence of glycogen. You can see the picture.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now you'll have to remember these things. Otherwise, if you don't revise, you will forget it. And you have your books open. Are your books open? Because I think so, if you keep your books open, you can at the same time underline those important points which I am telling you. So it becomes easier for you to revise. Anyway, if it is clear, I'll proceed. Okay? I'll proceed. I'll proceed.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Fine. So now again, it is just a description of what I told her. Villi negative is where that area, negative is that this area has turned brown. Villi negative means normal test. Okay, cells are normal means the villi test is negative, which means that the cells have turned brown. That's all. One line you remember. And positive means it has not taken up the color. Okay, where there is non-uptake of color, which is near the internal os or squamocolumnar junction. These are the two things. They can ask you in exam. Suppose there is a question, we are sitting with pap smear. I'll ask you in a resource poor country, how can you do it? You will say, madam, we can do VIA test and villi test. Then I'll say, okay, how will you know on VIA test that this area is abnormal? You will say, madam, if it becomes aceto white, then we know it is abnormal. I said, okay, if you have done the villi test, how will you know what is the normal area? You will say, madam, what is brown colored is normal area, and which does not take up the brown color is abnormal area. So these are the only few things that you need to remember. It is not very difficult if you are able to understand, because method of seeing the cervix will remain the same. Even if you have a short note, you can say it is done for cancer cervix, it is done in resource poor countries. The advantages are it is easy to perform, infrastructure is not required, we can train the staff nurses to do it, and then you can elaborate on, if you get a short note, how to do it. We will ask the lady to lie down in lithotomy position, we will introduce a Cusco speculum to take a look at the cervix, then we will smear the cervix in you will write 3 to 5% acetic acid, and then we will visualize after 1 minute. If we find aceto-white areas near the squamocolumnar junction, then it is abnormal and we will refer this lady to a tertiary care center for further tests. You will say the same, that we will smear the cervix with Lugol's iodine, and if there are unstained areas, it means that it is abnormal and the test is positive, and we will ask the lady to go for further investigations to a tertiary care center. So you can have a short note regarding this. You can have a short note regarding screening of cancer cervix. You may have a short note on colposcopy, on VIA or Willy, or during your table viva. Generally table viva, we do keep spatula, IO spatula. We may keep a lobe, this liquid based cytology cytobrush, and then I can ask you questions about pap smear. What is this brush used for? You will say it is a pap smear. So who are the ladies in which we can do pap smear test? What is the use of pap smear test? So these are how questions may be put up to you, either in theory or in practical examination. So now we come to colposcopy. Now we have a colposcope machine. If you have not seen it, have you seen a minor procedure room near the OPD? Have you seen it? Yes or no? If there is no answer, I take it as no. But okay, that is okay. You are generally coming to us in our, but we have a minor procedure room where I can show you. This is the colposcope machine. So what is the advantage of colposcopy? Colposcopy is nothing. It is only inspection of cervix, except that it has an inbuilt microscope which will magnify the picture. So what we can see with naked eyes, visual inspection, it will be under magnification, so that it becomes easier for us to evaluate whether the cervix is normal or abnormal. The advantage, it is again a diagnostic procedure. It is an outpatient procedure. Patient has come, we have certain doubt. We don't have to admit her. It doesn't take time. It is not painful. And under magnification, there is 10 to 14 times magnification, under which we can see the cervix. So you can now see this picture. Can you? You can see the picture?
Yes, ma'am.
So it's a diagrammatic representation. Lady lies the same way in a lithotomy position, and we will introduce a Cusco speculum to see the cervix, but we will see the cervix through these magnifying lens. Okay, you can see it is just like a microscope, no? That there is a lens, it will magnify it, and we will put our eyes into the eyepieces, and we will see a magnified picture of the cervix. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
So it is the same thing. It is nothing very difficult. And we have a colposcopy machine also that we can show you if, as and when things normalize. So what are the indications? Does every patient require? Maybe if you go into private setup, if a lady wants to go here, we are not charging patients generally anything, so it becomes easier. But there means the patient may require to pay 20,000 and all. So what are the indications in which sometimes she's wondering, she's come to you a pap smear, NILM, and it happens at times that I was told this is pap smear, you need to undergo colposcopy, and then you will think whether it is required or not. Patient can come and put up doubts, so you have to know. So when are the patients, in which patients we need to do colposcopy? If the report is HSIL, ask us any abnormal pathology report, human papilloma virus is also positive, then you have to see from where to take the biopsy. All the cervix appears normal otherwise, then we can examine under the colposcope, and any abnormal area we can take a biopsy to confirm. Sometimes it happens there is a disparity between two reports. As I said, there is clinically abnormal cervix, you find cervix, and it has happened. We saw the cervix, it was unhealthy, but somehow pap smear came out to be normal. Now it is up to you, but you are not convinced, because as we told, there could be false negative report also. Patient has come to you with postcoital bleeding or something like that. When you examine the cervix, there was slight congestion, irregularity, you took a pap smear. Pap smear comes as normal. So, astute doctor will not be convinced with one report, because we know that it can be abnormal, there could be false negative. So in these cases, if I feel patient is symptomatic, but pap smear is normal also, it would be better to follow up with some other investigation, and that investigation is colposcopy. So patients who have persistent high-risk HPV DNA test result, maybe she doesn't want any surgical thing, and you cannot say whether she will have cancer or not. She has a high-risk HPV DNA, then what will you tell her? And she's a young lady, she still wants one more issue. She doesn't want any drastic surgical treatment to be done. So you will again do a colposcopy and maybe take a biopsy. And if the biopsy shows cancer or precancerous, then probably you will tell her some kind of a excisional procedure or hysterectomy if she's willing for the same and the risk is very high. it seems very easy, but when patients come to us, face to face, telling her, madam, ye report hai, kya karna hai, and then we have to see her age, we have to see whether she's completed her family, whether she's willing for surgery, what is the risk, we have to prognosticate, abnormal cervical cytology. Again, suppose the pap smear was just ascus and it was negative HPV, I can tell her you can come and get your pap smear repeated after 3 months because HPV is negative. But now if she says it is a positive HPV testing, then probably I'll do a colposcopy and a biopsy before advising her any surgery. So here colposcopy has a role. Anyway, in the present era, it is better that when they are suspicious patients, to subject them to certain tests to be very sure that what you are doing is right. Because again, over treating a patient is also not good, and neglecting a patient is also equally harmful. So sometimes there is an ethical dilemma, how much, which patient, but you should be clear in your mind. You should discuss it with the patients. What are the risks? There is no 100%. You see one ascus or you see one HSIL, and sometimes we have seen those patients who had HSIL and we did some cone biopsy, we did some other biopsy, it comes out to be normal. Then we tell her to get a pap smear done after 3 months, it also comes out to be normal. So maybe it was an infective cell and falsely misinterpreted. So sometimes in certain patients, when there is a disparity between the cytology report, or there is abnormal cytology and human papilloma virus testing is also positive to decide what next to do, we have to undertake certain specialized tests as colposcopy. And how on colposcopy you will say what is normal and what is abnormal. So I will just talk to you that these are the abnormal findings, and if they are not there, it means it's a normal cervix. So again, there may be a whitish epithelium or a leukoplakia, and again with appearance of acetic acid, as you can see with naked eyes, there is a acetovite epithelium. So here also you will apply, as you had seen in that diagram, you are sitting with under a colposcope, and you have put in a Cusco speculum, and then again you will swab the cervix with 5% acetic acid. And if you see a astovite area near the squamocolumnar junction, that it indicates that this is abnormal colposcopic finding and you should take biopsy from there. Then again, sometimes you may see red marks on the surface as dots, punctations. Now dilated capillaries is also suspicious of precancerous lesions. Mosaic pattern. Now these are mosaic is when you see a building being made, there are bricks which are laid down, so that is a mosaic. Mosaic is an English term. You understand what mosaic is?
Yes, ma'am.
So what we understand in a building, what mosaic is, different bricks put together, that is how you will find some abnormal tissue being surrounded by these vessels, capillaries encircling polygonal shaped blocks of epithelial cells. Maybe you can find it in your book, or you may find it on the net also if you are more interested in what a mosaic means. Then there are certain, anywhere a cancerous tissue or precancerous tissue will be more vascular and there will be atypical blood vessels. So if you see irregular diameter vessels and branching, then they are again a suspicious of precancerous or cancerous lesion, and it indicates you should take a biopsy from that area. And if there is an irregular surface contour with ulceration and friability, all these are abnormal colposcopic finding. And the fact is that you will examine this, and at the same sitting from those abnormal areas you will take a biopsy. Biopsy will be sent to the pathologist so that they can confirm whether it is actually a precancerous or a cancerous lesion. So based on that, or if it is normal, then probably you will not do anything. If it is normal and you're very sure, you can tell the woman that okay, your pap smear was also normal, we thought there was something abnormal, or your on looking it was, if there is any disparity but you have normal colposcoping findings, then you can reassure the lady and tell her to come or repeat those investigations again, right? So the last thing which is only done in resource poor countries is detection, is downstaging of cervical cancer. You should be aware of this term in a country like India. It just means that suppose we have nurses from the rural periphery, PHCs or ASHAs, then we can just teach them. You introduce a Cuscos, now this is a normal cervix, you will show them some abnormal cervix. And so we will just teach them that this is normal, this is abnormal cervix, and to abnormal cervix you send to our institute. This is called as downstaging of cervical cancer. That is, detection of disease in earlier stages when still curable by nurses and other non-medical health workers using a simple speculum for visual inspection of the cervix. It can be done at PHCs. So it's just training the non-medical workers. If I show them, see, these are 20 normal cervix. There is no congestion, there is no friability. They will understand what is normal. And there is any deviation from what we feel is normal, you send it to tertiary care center. So at the most, if we can train our nurses and paramedical staff to only detect what is normal and ask them to refer anything which is a deviation from normal, we can still take care of decreasing the incidence of cervical cancer. So this is called as downstaging of cervical cancer. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So the last slide is thank you.